You spend your life giving time, money, weekends, holidays, thinking that's what a good father does. Then one day, your only daughter gets married, and you find out from Facebook. Not an invite, not a phone call, just a smiling photo of her in a white dress, her mother's locket around her neck, standing next to a man who never liked you, and a caption that hits like a punch. Surrounded by those who truly matter. I stared at that post like it was a death notice. In a way, it was, because something in me died right then. My name's Gary Mitchell. I'm 58 years old, retired firefighter. I pulled people from burning homes, worked double shifts, buried my wife, and raised our daughter Melissa alone. Paid her tuition, co-signed her mortgage, changed my whole damn life so she could have hers. And now I wasn't even worth the folding chair at her wedding. I picked up the phone. My hand shook. I called her. Voicemail. I called my sister. Gary. Don't overreact. It's just a wedding, she said. Just a wedding. That's when I knew. They didn't forget me. They chose to leave me out. I looked around my quiet house. Empty walls, filled with memories no one else seemed to care about. Then I did something I never do. I booked a trip. Montana. One way. And I posted a photo of the plane ticket. Caption. Sometimes peace means walking away from people who leave you behind. Melissa was just 12 when her mother died. A drunk driver. 2 miles from our house. One second we were a family of 3, the next I was a widower with a grieving daughter and no roadmap. I didn't have the luxury to fall apart. I shelved the pain, worked overtime at the station, and did what needed to be done. Every science fair, every school pickup, every night she cried herself to sleep, I was there. I burned vacation days to make sure I never missed a parent-teacher meeting, cooked dinners she barely ate, sat through ballet recitals, cross-country meets, even those awkward teen years when she said nothing for days. I was there. I didn't date seriously, didn't remarry. Hell, I turned down a district chief promotion because it meant moving her away from her friends. When it came time for college, she wanted a private school out of state. I cashed out half my pension early to cover the difference. Told myself it was worth it. Every sacrifice, every dent in my savings, every sleepless night. I did it all so she'd never feel like she was missing anything, even without her mom. And when she bought her first house at 27, I co-signed the loan. Gave her the down payment too, told her it was her mother's dream to see her own a home. I was so proud. Then Derek came along. Smooth talker, flashy car, couldn't change a tire if his life depended on it. Never liked me, thought I was old school. Too direct. I bit my tongue for her sake. Tried to connect. Bought them a grill for their backyard. He made a joke about my boomer energy in front of everyone. Melissa laughed. I let it slide, but things changed. The calls got fewer. I was only invited to birthdays, not the little things. Then, not even those. I told myself they were just busy. People move on, right? But deep down, I knew. I was being pushed out, slowly, quietly, by the very people I gave everything to. And I let it happen because I thought that's what love meant. Turns out, love without respect is just a leash. And I was tired of being led around. The post hit me on a Wednesday afternoon. I was refilling the bird feeder, trying to keep the squirrels from stealing the seed again when my phone buzzed. I opened Facebook, and there it was. Melissa, standing under a flowered arch, hand in hand with Derek, surrounded by smiling faces. His parents, her college roommates, even the mailman from their old street. Everyone but me. My chest went tight. I scrolled, hoping it was a photo shoot. Maybe an engagement party I didn't know about. Then I saw the caption. Married my best friend today, surrounded by those who truly matter. I stared at the screen, the words burning. No call, no invite, no warning. I sat down at the kitchen table, phone in hand, heart pounding like I'd just run up a flight of stairs. I dialed her number, straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. I called my sister Nancy. She picked up on the second ring, cheerful. Hey Gary, How's retired life treating you? I didn't waste time. Did you know Melissa got married? Silence, then a too casual. Oh, yeah, I heard. My throat went dry. And no one thought to tell me? She sighed. Gary, don't make this about you. It's just a wedding. Derek had some concerns. They wanted something small, drama-free. Drama-free? By cutting out her father? I felt like I'd been sucker punched. I'm her dad, I said, my voice cracking. You were, she said gently, like she was breaking bad news. Now you're just making this harder than it needs to be. That's when I realized this wasn't an accident. This was intentional. I hadn't been forgotten. I'd been erased. And the people who should have stood up for me were busy keeping the peace at my expense. That night, I sat in my recliner staring at the framed photo of Melissa on her 5th birthday. Missing front teeth, chocolate cake on her face, sitting on my shoulders at the park. I remembered promising her I'd always be there. Turns out, promises only go one way in this family. My phone sat on the coffee table, buzzing with posts I couldn't stomach. People I hadn't heard from in years tagging me in wedding photos with fake apologies in their eyes. Didn't realize you weren't there, Gary. Like I'd missed it on purpose. I opened my laptop and stared at the empty flight search bar. No destination in mind. Just somewhere far. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere I wasn't just being dramatic. I clicked through photos of cabins, lakes, forests, until I landed on Montana. Always wanted to go but never made time. I booked a one-way ticket, found a rental truck and a week's stay near Flathead Lake. Then I posted a photo of my confirmation screen, just one line. Sometimes peace means walking away from people who leave you behind. 10 minutes later, Nancy called. I let it ring. Melissa texted, Dad, just that one word, like it still meant something. I turned off my phone. The next morning I packed my bags, threw in my old fishing rod, a couple books, and my hiking boots. Locked the front door behind me, looked back once, then didn't. On the plane, I watched the sunrise over the clouds and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Stillness. Not numbness. Not anger. Just quiet. Like the part of me that had been begging to be seen finally got tired of screaming. I wasn't running away. I was walking toward something. My own life. For once. 3 days into my Montana trip, I was sitting on a dock at Flathead Lake, line in the water, coffee in hand, when my phone, which I'd finally turned on out of habit, lit up like a slot machine. Texts, missed calls, voicemails, even a few unknown numbers. I scrolled through them slowly. Most were from Nancy. One from Melissa. Then a message from my old buddy Dan. You see what happened at the wedding? He included a link to a Twitter video. I tapped it, expecting a highlight reel. Instead, I saw chaos. The camera shook as guests whispered, then gasped. There stood Derek at the altar, stiff as a statue. The music had stopped. He turned to Melissa, said something low. Her face dropped. Then he walked. Not just a quiet exit. He stormed down the aisle, past stunned guests, ripped off his boutonniere, and shoved open the church door. A woman screamed. Someone tried to stop him. He pushed past. Gone. The video cut to black. I watched it again, then a second angle. Different guest, same disaster. It was real. Derek left her at the altar. I didn't feel joy. I didn't gloat. I felt confirmation. This family ran on loyalty as long as you didn't ask for respect. Derek had never liked me, but turns out Melissa didn't really know him either. Another message came through. This one from Nancy. Gary, it's a mess. Melissa is a wreck. She needs you. I stared at that sentence for a long time, then typed back, she needed me before she cut me out. I didn't hit send. I just closed the app. By that afternoon, the story was viral. Local news picked it up. Derek's cousin spilled the whole thing. He found texts between Melissa and her ex, dated just 2 months before the wedding. Private messages. Late night. I miss yous. Somebody slipped him screenshots the morning of the ceremony. Melissa never saw it coming. That night, I sat by the fireplace in the cabin, watching the flames flicker. I wasn't happy she was hurt, but I was relieved the truth had a way of finding its way out. If the wedding had gone off without a hitch, I'd still be the villain in their story. But now I was just a man who refused to stay silent while being erased. I poured a glass of whiskey, raised it toward the empty room, and muttered, "To the truth, ugly as it may be." The morning after the video blew up, my phone started buzzing again, non-stop. Nancy, Melissa, even Derek's mother of all people. The guilt campaign was in full swing. Nancy's voicemail came first. "Gary, she's not eating. She's crying herself to sleep. Please, she needs her father." My chest tightened, but not with guilt, with restraint. I'd heard this tune before. Then came Melissa's text. "Dad, please, I made a mistake. I should have invited you. No apology for the betrayal. Just a plea now that everything fell apart." I sat with it, didn't answer. Later that day, while walking a trail along the lake, another message hit. "You're being cruel." That one came from Nancy. That word, cruel, got under my skin. Funny how the man they ignored, disrespected, and discarded suddenly became cruel for not showing up to fix what he had no part in breaking. I opened my camera and took a picture of the trail, sun filtering through the trees, peaceful and still. Posted it with a caption, "When they only call you in crisis, they don't miss you, they miss what you did for them." Within minutes, my cousin Charlie replied privately, "I get it, man. I'd have walked too." First time anyone said that out loud. That evening, Melissa texted again, "I know I hurt you, but this isn't the way." I almost laughed, because this right here was the only way I'd ever be heard. I'd spent decades swallowing my pride to keep peace, and all it got me was a front row seat to my own erasure. They wanted the old Gary, the one who dropped everything when the alarm rang. But that guy hung up his helmet a long time ago. Now for the first time I was rescuing someone who'd been trapped too long, me. I got back to Cincinnati a week later. Quiet flight, no fanfare. I didn't call anyone. Didn't tell him I was home. First thing I did was visit my lawyer. Told him to update the will, take Melissa out completely. Next, I closed the joint account she used for groceries, gas, whatever else she needed that month. I'd opened it years ago just in case, and somehow it became a silent expectation. Not anymore. That afternoon, she texted, "Dad, my card's not working. Did the bank mess something up?" I stared at the message a full minute before replying, "Accounts closed." Nothing else. No speech. No justification. Just a clean cut. 10 minutes later, the phone rang. It was Nancy again. "Gary, she's already suffering. Don't kick her while she's down." My voice stayed calm. "I'm not kicking anyone. I'm just finally standing up." Because here's the thing. When you draw a line in the sand, people either step back or try to drag you over it. I wasn't moving this time. I'd been the emotional lifeline, the wallet, the punching bag, and the silent supporter for far too long. And the minute I stopped being useful, I was disposable. Now that things had crumbled, I was supposed to forget it all and show up like nothing happened. That's not dignity. That's servitude. I didn't walk away because of one wedding. I walked away because the people I loved made it clear my worth ended the second I stopped giving. And I was done pretending that was love. That was the day I made peace with being seen as selfish. Because maybe saying no isn't selfish at all. Maybe it's what freedom sounds like. It was a Saturday morning when I heard the doorbell. I looked through the peephole. There she was. Nancy, standing on my porch with that same tilted head and tight-lipped expression she wore at every funeral and family fight. I opened the door halfway, coffee mug in hand. "You really doing this, Gary?" she asked, stepping back like the air between us stung. "Melissa's your only child. She's not eating, she's not sleeping, she needs her dad." I didn't answer right away. Just looked at her. I thought back to all those times I reached out, when Melissa started pulling away, when Derek made me feel like an outsider in my own family, when I told Nancy I was feeling left behind. She'd brushed it off every time, said I was taking things too personally. I sipped my coffee. She remembered I was her dad when the bills were due, when the car needed repairs, when college tuition hit. But when it came time to say I do, I wasn't even worth a chair. Nancy's eyes dropped. It wasn't personal. I stepped out onto the porch and leveled my voice. You know what's funny? I used to say that too. When I swallowed every insult, every cold shoulder, every time I was the backup plan. But it was personal. It always was. She said nothing, just stood there with a kind of sad disbelief, like she couldn't believe I was sticking to my word. Tell Melissa, I said. I hope she heals, but she's got to do it without me. I turned and closed the door. Quietly. Finally, 2 weeks later, I packed up what I needed, sold what I didn't, and left Cincinnati for good. No goodbye party, no note on the counter, just me and my old pickup, headed west toward Flathead Lake, where the air felt honest and nobody looked at me like I owed them something. I rented a small cabin, 1 bedroom, wood stove, a view of the water. My days became simple. Wake up, make coffee, work on a bit of woodworking, maybe fish if the weather held. The quiet wasn't eerie anymore. It was medicine. No more texts asking for favors. No more calls that only came when someone needed a bailout. Just peace. The kind that doesn't ask anything of you. The kind you forget exists until you're finally out from under the weight of people who never saw you unless they needed you. At night, I'd sit on the porch with a drink in hand, watching the sun dip behind the mountains, and for the first time in a long time, I felt no urge to explain myself. No guilt, no what-ifs. Just calm. People used to say I was too soft, too giving. Maybe I was, but out here, with no one asking for more than I can give, I finally remembered who I was before being someone else's crutch. And that man, he's doing just fine. About 6 months after the wedding, the message came. Melissa. Hi, Dad. I know I don't have the right, but I'm sorry. No long paragraphs, no real ownership. Just that. I stared at it for a while, feeling nothing. Not anger, not joy, just space. Later that week, another text. I made mistakes, but you were cruel too. That one almost made me laugh. Cruel? After paying the bills, co-signing the mortgage, staying up nights when she cried over boys like Derek? I was the guy who gave until there was nothing left. And the one time I chose myself, I became the villain. I didn't respond, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. I wasn't going back to being useful and invisible. A month later, I bumped into them by accident, Melissa, Nancy, and even Derek, walking into a diner while I was walking out. Melissa looked down. Nancy gave a half smile. Derek nodded like we were old poker buddies. I kept walking, no words, no drama. Just a man who finally meant what he said. Some stories don't need closure, just distance. That night, back at the cabin, I lit a fire and poured a drink. And for the first time in decades, I slept all the way through. And the lesson is simple, but hard-earned. You don't owe your peace to people who only remember you when they need something. Love without respect isn't love. It's obligation. Gary gave everything to his daughter, and when he was no longer useful, they erased him. But when he finally said enough, he didn't crumble, he healed. Walking away didn't make him cruel, it made him whole. If you've been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, too selfish for setting boundaries, this story is your permission slip. You are not wrong for wanting respect. You are not cruel for needing space. You don't have to light yourself on fire to keep others warm. To every man who's been used, ignored, or guilt-tripped into silence, you have the right to say no. You have the right to peace. And when you choose it, you'll be surprised how quiet and good the world can feel. If this story spoke to you, if you saw even a piece of your own life in Gary's. Like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. There's power in knowing you're not alone. Let's make dignity the standard. Let's make peace the goal.